To factor a polynomial expression with 4 or more terms, we factor by grouping. Here I have an example of a polynomial expression that has 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So we're going to factor this first by looking to see if there's any greatest common factor all the way through. And as I look at every single term, there's not the same factor in all 4 terms. So this particular one does not have a greatest common factor. After I look for a greatest common factor, I count how many terms there are. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. When there are 4 or more terms, we try to factor by grouping. So first we'll take the terms 2 at a time and see if there's any common factor in the way that they're arranged. So when I just look at the first 2 terms and focus entirely on them, I see that there is a common factor of x. So I'll factor the common factor of x out of the first 2 terms. So when I factor the common factor of x out, x goes into ax, a times, plus when I factor out the x from bx, I have b. And then close the parentheses because that's as far as the common factor of x existed. Now in the last 2 terms, I look for a common factor as well, and here there's a common factor of y, but also because the first term of these 2 terms had a minus, I'll factor out a negative y. So I'll factor out a negative y, and as you're factoring out, you're actually dividing it out of each term. So when you open up your parentheses and you think about how to factor that out, think negative ay divided by negative y. Well, negative divided by negative is a positive, and when I divide out the y, I'll have an a left. And then negative by divided by negative a, divide by negative y, negative divided by negative is positive, and I divided out the y, so I get a plus b. Now I still haven't factored it completely because there's the subtraction that's between the 2 terms, not all inside parentheses. So I have this first term and this second term, and again, we look for a common factor. The common factor in these 2 terms is the factor a plus b. So I'll factor the a plus b out, and when I factor the a plus b out as a common factor and open up the parentheses, taking this first term and dividing by a plus b leaves me x, and then taking the second term and dividing by a plus b leaves me a minus y. So the factorization of ax plus bx minus ay minus by is a plus b in parentheses times x minus y in parentheses.